throughout the region. But yesterday, Prime Minister Maliki spat in the face of the United States by adding more speakers to the psychological torture of the people in Ashraf. We owe it to 34 innocent civilians to make sure that they are protected when we pull our troops out at the end of this year. And Prime Minister Maliki should take notice that we put him there and we expect him to respect the human rights of others, including the Iranians at Camp Ashraf. And in order for that to happen, we must delist the MEK. The MEK has been an organization which has stood up for human rights and against violence for the past decade. This extraordinary speech that Madam President has just given would be, we would hope, the basis for a new government in Iran. And the United States has a special obligation here, because as we leave Iraq, and it will be our responsibility if something happens to the people of Camp Ashraf, we must stand up for them. And the first thing that we have to do in order to preserve their safety is to delist the MEK. They are not a terrorist organization. The Europeans have noted that they are not a terrorist organization, and we should take them off the list. This is important not just for the people of Ashraf and not just for the people of Iran. This is important for the people of the United States of America. I am very proud of being an American for a lot of reasons. But the reason I am most proud of being an American is because of the fundamental moral principles that were laid out in the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. We make mistakes like every other country, but we have been founded on high moral principles which respect the human rights of others, even though we may have disagreements. We do not expect that if Madame Rajavi becomes president of Iran or they have a regime change that we're going to agree with everything that goes on in the new Iranian government. But what we do want is to be able to talk with mutual respect to others who respect human life. We can stand up in Libya. We ought to be able to stand up in Iran and support people. This is not limited to governments that we hope we may agree with or governments we don't like. We have a declaration in the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence that says the United States believes in standing up for human rights and for the oppressed. That means all people. I am here today to stand up for the people of Ashraf. The three things that we must do are, one, we must ask the State Department to do what every other nation on the face of the earth have done, which is to delist the MEK and recognize them as a legitimate opposition force, democratic opposition force in Iran. Two, we must not permit the government of Iraq, which we are responsible for, to oppress others, including the 3,400 people in Ashraf. We must take full responsibility for the protection of the people in Camp Ashraf. That is a United States responsibility. And three, we must recognize a democratic provisional government. We do not recognize any government in Iran right now for good reason. I propose that we do recognize a government in Iran. You have just heard from the President. It has not escaped my notice that when women take a prominent leadership role, democracy and the cause of peace is well served. There can be no more noble leader, as George Washington was in our country, who voluntarily limit the extent of their power for the sake of their country. We are extraordinarily lucky to have such a leader in waiting in Iran. And you have elected her, and I congratulate you. Let me conclude by saying this. We had a meeting in Washington a couple of days ago, and Congressman Brad Sherman, who has been a great champion for the Iranian people in the Congress of the United States, got up and said that he had never found a cause before where former Ambassador John Bolton could agree with former Governor Howard Dean. But the reason that many Republicans and Democrats are coming together in order to support this cause is that we love our country and we believe that human rights all over the world are important to stand up for and to fight for. We believe that in the long run, we cannot rest until every repressive, dictatorially murderous regime is no longer in existence. We have made great progress in the Middle East in the last 6 weeks. We have a long way to go. And you know, because you have made personal sacrifices, many of you have families in Ashraf, many of you have lost family members to this murderous regime. You know personally what the sacrifices are. No conference here is going to make the difference and make the change. Every single day we get up and work for change. We get up and work for human rights, and this will go year after year after year, and we will do it every day until we win, generation after generation if necessary. We will prevail, because it is not Iran or the United States that is at stake, it is the human race, and we are all in this together. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Unser nächster Redner ist jemand, dessen Anwesenheit an einen sehr geschichtsträchtigen Tag für die Menschen in Berlin erinnert. Vor 48 Jahren hieß Berlin einen großen amerikanischen Staatsmann, John F. Kennedy, den Präsidenten von Amerika, willkommen. Wir heißen heute Patrick Kennedy, Mitglied des US-Kongresses von 1995 bis 2011 willkommen. Bevor ich ihm aber das Wort gebe, werden wir noch ein Video sehen über damals.
As a free man, I take pride in the word, Ich bin ein Berliner.
Governor Dean began his speech by saying how difficult it was to follow a president. Well, President Rajavi, I can say right now I kind of understand how he felt, because every chance I get to speak where they introduce me by rolling a clip of my Uncle President Kennedy. But I will say